Hey everyone, it's Nightharo here, and today we're making a thief. You might imagine that thieves are near and dear to my heart, so today what we're going to do is just a good all-around setup for your thief. So to start off here, I strongly recommend going with the Halfling. Their hard to catch feature just allows us to stay alive and still be in melee combat, and it can also provide us for an opportunity. Some of what we want to do is potentially draw aggro for our group and get bosses to attack us so that we can be hard to catch. We can use our evade and what have you to dodge attacks. So that's why I strongly recommend Halfling. You could also go with another kin and it would be just fine. If you really wanted to focus down a particular target, I think Wolfkin, like, it's best in slot. Like, it's so good. You have to pick a target, and that costs 3 willpower points. But then after that, each additional boon you get on a roll is only going to cost you 1 willpower point on that one target. So it does cost to switch targets. So you typically want to do this on the big bad monster, but it works incredibly well. For our heroic ability, since we are a thief, we're going to get backstabbing. What this allows us to do, if we have an ally who's in melee with that other target, we can get a free unblockable attack, basically. So all we got to do is succeed in our attack. Our opponent cannot evade, they can't dodge, and it just gives us a free hit with a bit of extra damage. So then our damage with this ability kind of comes up to that of what you would see with a fairly strong fighter. And then if we want to pair this with some other ability like Assassin later on, where it gives us another extra D8, that is a lot of willpower points to spend on one particular attack, but I think backstab is quite nice. And actually, because of that, my personal recommendation as your first optional first feat, that your first heroic ability that you choose, is to go with fast footwork. Fast footwork, what that does is you spend 3 willpower points and you get a free dodge that round, so you don't need to spend your action to dodge. And again, I think this is one of the ways where we can kind of dodge tank for our group if we need to draw aggro, if we need to distract a monster, what have you, and that will work well whenever we're not backstabbing, and I think it'll help keep us alive. So again, this build is designed to be more well-rounded and not just solo damage focused or solo something else focused. So Assassin, as I mentioned, is really good. Also, Double Slash is also a really good one. Double Slash, you spend 3 willpower points, and one attack can hit 2 targets as long as they're adjacent to you. You do need to be using a dagger with this because it does need to be slashing damage, and a knife can't do slashing damage, so keep that in mind. Focused is also another great option. Focus just gives us a couple of extra willpower points so that we can use all these fun abilities, because that's really going to be one of the major limiting factors for us on this build, which is another reason why like an elf could also be a good option, as they tend to get back more willpower points and a little bit of health. Moving on to our gear options here. So I personally think probably gear option 2 is going to be the way to go, and the reason for that is because we really want to have lockpicks. At least I really want to have lockpicks. So that's why I recommend gear option 2 here. You could also, that'll give you a knife, not daggers. You could also go with option 3. Option 3 gives you a couple of daggers, which is nice. You can throw one of them if you ever need to, but it gives you marbles instead. Marbles, even if you go with gear option 2, which is what I recommend, get some marbles when you can. Marbles, you can throw them at a target and they have to roll to be able to move on their next round. So the idea here is you're throwing out a bunch of marbles to CC or to stun or keep a target from moving. And I think that's really fun, and I think it works really well as another option as a rogue, is kind of a utility class for our particular group. Everything else on this is fairly straightforward. When you can, probably wouldn't be a horrible idea to grab some leather armor also. We're going to choose young with this build. If you wanted to go with adult, that would also be fine. Young is going to give us a +1 to our agility, which we really want a high agility on this build, and also gives us a +1 to our constitution, which can help us stay alive while in that melee combat. It does limit us on our skills, but honestly, I think it's less of a big deal, because on a rogue, or on a thief rather, we like all of the options that we can get for skills, so there's no like wasted skills that we have to take that we didn't really want to take, at least for this build. And then for stats, again, as we kind of mentioned, agility. Go all into agility. You want your agility to be your highest ability. It's going to help you with your attacking with your knives or daggers. It's going to help you with most of your particular skills that we're going to use. Like 6 out of 8 is going to be agility, so it's really important for that. It'll allow us a little bit more mobility by increasing our speed, and it's great for the skills we want it for, like evade, like acrobatics, and what have you. So yeah, agility, 100% the highest stat. After that, you really have some options here. So I personally would probably tend to go with a fairly high will, so that we can use these abilities fairly often. I think con is also up there. I think in most builds, honestly, con and will are both things you want reasonably high if you can, and it's really an option if you want a little bit more survivability, or if you want to be able to use your active abilities more often, pretty much any build has this will versus con thing, I think, going on with it. And then after that, really it's up to you. If you want several of our abilities we're going to choose going to be intelligence based, so that can be helpful, or you could choose to go a different route and go charisma based. If you're the face of your party, then you might want to swap things up a little bit and go with a little bit higher charisma, but really it's a choose your own adventure. You don't want to go with too low of a strength, but strength can somewhat be, I wouldn't say a dump stat. I would, if you choose not to use charisma, dump it all in charisma, but strength doesn't need to be incredibly high either. And then for our skills, so we're going to go with acrobatics, awareness, evade, knives, sleight of hand, sneaking, and spot hidden. We want all these skills. These are all quintessential rogue skills. Acrobatics lets us climb and do all that kind of stuff. Awareness is to make sure we can perceive our surroundings. We don't want to be caught unaware if we can at all help it, because that's how you end up dead as a rogue. And then evade is going to be able to both sneak into small locations, but also get away from targets if they're grabbing us or what have you. Tons of uses for evade, dodge attacks, what have you. Knives, we need some sort of attacking ability. Knives is what we kind of what the option we get. Sleight of hand, that's to be able to pickpocket and do that kind of stuff. Do sleight of hand again. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. If you didn't want to actually go the sticky fingers route, you could drop this in favor of something else. Sneaking, I mean, we're a thief, right? You got to go sneaking. Spot hidden is to find things, again, these are all just super straightforward. For our last option here, I personally would recommend going with some sort of ranged ability. And if you wanted to go with bows or crossbows, it's really your option, but I would pick one of those and go with it, whatever feels right to you and you like for your character. If you decide to go with a middle-aged person or an adult, there are several more options for skills that could be really good for us, but I think they're more intelligence or charisma based on the kind of character you want to play, so just do whatever feels good to you. I will note that we don't really want to get a heavier weapon because we're not going to be able to pair that with our sneak attack ability, which we'll be using, I think, quite often. And that's it, guys. That's it. Straightforward build today. So, of course, there's some other things you need to pick, like your weakness and your memento and what have you, but as far as like the actual mechanical builds, that's it. So anyways, hope this was helpful with you making a rogue. If you have any questions about Dragonbane, just feel free to drop them down in the comments below, or you can always come by the Discord. We have only a handful of people in there right now, but we're playing Dragonbane a couple times a week. So anyways, thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.